So why are we losing so many fish? Why are so many fish dying in tournaments nowadays? That is a really hot topic in bass fishing right now, is bass mortality, and it's even debatable if we're going to be able to live well fish moving forward in the future. And so why are we doing that? Why are we losing so many fish? Why is it such a hot topic? I want to talk a little bit about that in this video. We do lose some fish. I will have to admit that. I can't act like that's not a thing. But really and truly, there's only one reason that we're losing so many fish in our live wells, in our bass boats. If you got a traditional bass boat, really any kind of traditional live well in any kind of boat, with a little bit of simple know-how and a little understanding of how a live well works, you can keep fish alive for a very long time, especially if you're not talking about filling the live well up with 10 or 12 bass or 15 bass. If you're only putting 5 bass in a live well, you can keep them alive for a very long time. It's actually a very safe environment for bass. If you don't believe me, listen, if you don't believe me, go to any Bass Pro Shops, go to any live bait shop, go to any pet store. If you look at any place where they keep fish for a long period of time, those live wells, aquariums, bait tanks, they pretty much have the same mechanics that we have in our modern day bass boats. It's pretty much the same parts and they work the same ways. And you notice they keep fish and they keep bait alive for a very long time. So we, as anglers, should be able to keep fish alive for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours if we need to. But it's just some stuff that we gotta know. So what I want to do in this video is I just want to share with y'all my experience with live welling bass so I can keep them alive all day. This is something I've had very little trouble keeping bass alive. I have lost 1 or 2 here or there. Usually it's because I've deep gutted a fish or something like that, but just to look in my live well and then all of a sudden my fish are belly up, I don't want to say I've never had that, but if I have had that, it's been so long ago that I don't remember it. Okay, if we're live welling bass, there's really only 6 steps that that you need to follow, 6 things that you need to know to be able to keep those fish alive all day. I'm gonna show you, I have a Falcon bass boat. Some of you guys' boats will vary in how you keep these fish alive or how you operate your live well. But the #1 reason that fish die is because improper live well monitoring, I guess you would say, improper live well operation. That's the word I'm looking for. It's actually really easy. I'm gonna show you the steps, the 6 steps that I follow every single tournament, every time I live well bass. And I think if you use this, you won't have any more problems, okay? I have a Falcon bass boat. We have a pretty bulletproof live well system. One of the reasons a lot of people lose fish in tournaments is they may only have 1 or 2 aerator pumps in their boats, and it's very easy for 1 or 2 of those to go out. We have on a Falcon, we have just 1, 2, 3. There's 3 pumps. So I have 3 pumps and an oxygenator. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So if I get 3 pumps to go out, it's time to put that thing on the trailer anyway. You done did something stupid. If you get 3 pumps to go out in a day, you really done did something stupid. So I'm gonna walk you through the 6 steps right quick, step by step. Follow these instructions. I really feel like you'll have a good experience with boating your fish. Okay, so first thing, a couple of the components that you're gonna have. This is your live well gate. This is basically how this term is, how you empty, fill. It's your gate. It's just like the plug in your bathtub. I can empty. We'll talk about what auto is and recirc. This is basically closed. This is the most secure setting on your live well. Turn it to recirc. That's gonna be your most secure setting. We'll talk about what auto is here in just a little bit. Empty is obviously to drain your live wells, okay? So I like to start off with my pumps on recirc. Turn my gate to recirc. Then the first thing I do, after I turn it to recirc, you can see here's my 3 pumps. I have an auto manual aerator. That means that's a time aerator. I have a recirculation pump, and I also have an auxiliary fill. So what I like to do for the first, as soon as I catch a fish, I want to put them in the live well, I close the gate and I hit auxiliary fill. All right, what that does, I'll show you what it does. It's gonna automatically start pumping water into my live wells. I got water going into my live wells. see I got a little bit of dirt in there too. We're gonna talk about dirt, we're gonna talk about sediment too. Just give me a little bit. Right now I just want to show you how I even get water. How do I get this process started? I'm gonna go to auxiliary fill first. Second thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my aerators. Once I get that up to, I wanna get it full. I wanna get my live well full, all the way to the brim. And so where it's full, you're probably asking, you wanna know where full is? It's right there. You see, this is the overflow drain right there. So I want that water right to the bottom of this. I want my water right to the bottom of that field right there. This is just so if the water gets so high, it'll drain here instead of coming out of the top. It'll drain here right out into the lake. So I want the water all the way full to there. So once it's full right up to the bottom of my drain plug, what do I do now? Here's the second step, is I'm gonna turn my aerators on. I just have the fill on right now. The fill is pumping water from the lake into my live well. I'm pumping water from the lake into my live well to fill up the box. Now, once I've done that, you can see I have two aerators here. I have a recirc pump and I have an aerator. This one actually has the option to have it on a timer. I don't want to use the timer. This cuts off maybe every minute and a half, 2 minutes. I'm going to turn it to manual. And then I'm going to turn my recirc pump on as well. Bop. Once I've got it filled up, I can actually turn this auxiliary fill off if I need to. Okay? So what that's doing is I've got two pumps that's only using the water that's in my live wells. That's all it's doing. It's taking the water that's in my live wells and it's flipping it over and over and over. It's aerating the water. When that pump splashes water into my live well, it's basically like a mixing. It's almost like when you mix something on the stove, or if you ever cooked a pot of grits or some mashed potatoes, you know, you keep turning them over and turning them over. That aerator, that water splashing down, is aerating my live wells by mixing the water over and over and over. It's creating aeration, okay? Now, what I'll do next. Third thing I like to do is I have an oxygenator in my live well. Let me turn these off. I'm just gonna turn the live wells off so you can hear what I'm saying. Oxygenator, you see that little microphone looking deal right here? That's an oxygenator. Now, all right, I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff about oxygenator. Is way above my level of understanding. All I can tell you is this. I've got a button down here. I turn the oxygenator on. If I put one bass in my live well, the first thing that bass does is put his nose right on the oxygenator. I don't know what it does. I don't really care. It's got something to do with dissolved oxygen. I'm not a chemist. I just know how to keep bass alive. I try things, and if it keeps the bass alive, I say it works. I try things, and if it kills my bass, I tell you that it doesn't work. If you want to know what an oxygenator really does, you probably should Google search that here on YouTube, or you should go to thmarine.com and let them tell you what it does. I don't even want to try to tell you what it does. All I know is it works. So I'll do that, turn my oxygenator on. That's going to be step 3. Step 4 is I want to cool or monitor my water. And you don't have to do all of these steps. This might be in 10 or 15 minute increments. You might put a little bit of water in your boat, in your live wells, and then 5-10 minutes later you might turn your aerators on, and then 15 to 20 minutes later you might decide to turn your aerator on. That's okay if you do that, but the number one thing you got to do is remember to do it. That's why bass die. You fill that live well up, you turn the fill off, and then you forget to turn your aerators on. That's when they die. Too much dissolved oxygen. So remember to do that. Turn your aerators on. You can do it all at one step, or you can wait if you want to, but you got to remember to do it. All right, so here's my next step. I can't remember if we're at number 4 or number 5. It don't matter. Do this next. Just do this next. I don't remember where we at. Additives. Live well additives. What I'm talking about is your TH Marine G Juice, your Please Release Me. We don't use, I don't think we use, nobody uses Rejuvenate anymore, but whatever you put in your live well as an additive, now is when you want to add it. But the key to when you're putting additive in your live well is to make sure that you keep your gate closed. Don't open that gate. Don't turn it to auto. If you turn this to auto and then you turn on your aerator pumps, you do that. If you do that, what's going on is you're actually pumping water from the lake When you turn it on the auto, I think it's taking 10% of the water from the outside and using 90% of the water in the live well to turn. The percentages may be off, it really doesn't matter. Long story short, when you turn your gate valve to auto, it's mixing water from the lake into the live well. It's continuously putting a small percentage of lake water into the live well. Why wouldn't you want to do that? The best way I can tell you is it's just like having a bathtub, getting all your bubbles in your bath and continuously running the water. It's diluting your additive. So once you put your additive in your live well, turn that off so you can hear me. Once you put your additive in your live well, turn your live well gate to recirc, turn your pumps on. Don't turn the auxiliary field back on. Turn your pumps on, leave them on manual all day. Never turn them off. Never turn your recircs off, never turn your manuals off. Leave it on. Okay, put your additive in there. There's no need for you to do that. Are they changing the water in the live well pumps in the live bait tank? Are they changing the Bass Pro Shops every 3-4 hours? No, they're not. That water is plenty sufficient enough with those aerators running constantly to sustain those bass in your live well. I already know what somebody's gonna put in the comments if you haven't already. All right, Brian, if I run my aerators all day, is it going to drain my batteries? No. I don't remember what the amperage that they're pulling, your aerators are pulling, but it is not pulling enough power to drain your batteries in a days of fishing. Should be able to sustain those aerators for several days. If it does, you don't have a timer issue, you have a battery issue, and you should do some electrical diagnostics. If it does run your batteries dead, you got a problem. You have probably a power issue. So turn it on manual, don't turn it back off. Don't just leave it on. That's the number one reason people lose fish. Put your additive in there, close the gate, recirc, manual, aerators, leave it on. That's it. So let's just have a pretend scenario. We fished several hours, 3 or 4 hours. What would be my next step? We've got 3, 4, 5 bass in our live well. They weigh 22.5 pounds. What should you be doing? How do I monitor? Your next step is going to be to monitor and or cool. A lot of times if I'm in the summertime, I'm fishing and I want to add ice to my live wells, I don't do it first thing in the morning. I'll usually wait a few hours. Here's why. So typically, well, let's talk about this first. Let's talk about why would I be adding ice to my live well in the first place. Most of the time we just say we just want to keep the water cool because it's hot outside and the water is getting warmer with the water being in my live well. In our mind, the water is getting warmer as we sit there fishing because we feel it on our skin. So really what you're trying to do by adding ice is cooler water has more capacity to hold oxygen than warmer water does. That's the lamest term. There's some science behind that. It has something to do with dissolved oxygen and all these other terms that really don't matter. All you need to know is if you have ice in your live well and your live well water is cooler, it has the capacity to hold more oxygen, which your fish need to survive. So I'm gonna put my ice into my live well maybe 3-4 hours into the fishing day. If it's really hot and it's 95 by 9:30, then now I'll go ahead and put it in at that point. Make sure that gate's closed. You don't want to be putting extra water from the lake in the live well. Once you put your ice in there, you want to have already had your additive in there. How do I put the ice in there? Here's one thing I see people do all the time. They take a bag of ice, put it down on the deck of the boat, bust it a bunch, stick it in the live well, pour it in there like you would, I don't know, in a cooler. The best thing you could do when you're pouring ice into your live wells is leave it in the bag. Leave it in the bag. You want it to be like just a giant ice cube of ice. Some people take like a gallon jug, freeze that gallon jug of water with their additive in there and put the whole gallon jug into the live well. That's perfectly fine. That gallon jug bouncing around your live well is not going to hurt anything. It's not going to hurt the fish. The worst thing that you could probably have happen is if you hit a wave too hard, it could break off the nozzle on your aerator deal. That's probably the worst case scenario. Still wouldn't stop your aerators from pumping, but you can do that as well. You can take a whole bag of ice and put it in there, or you can take a gallon jug, freeze that overnight with your additive in there, open the can and let that dissolve over time in your live well. Whatever you got to do to cool your water. Another myth that you'll hear is that I don't want to say it's a myth, but one thing you need to realize is that your live well water is going to stay within 2 to 4 degrees of the ambient temperature of the water. So it's not going to get much warmer in your live well than it does in the lake, probably unless you're just sitting there off the trailer. Your boat is, the live well is pretty close to the level of water in most boats. So you're going to have, I think I'm saying that right, the ambient temperature of the lake is going to pretty much keep that temperature in your live well, from what I've noticed, 3 to 4 degrees. I live here in South Carolina where it does get, you know, upper 90s, and I've measured it before. It doesn't really get any much warmer or cooler than 3 to 4 degrees. Keep in mind, with that aerator in the live well, it may actually keep the water a little bit cooler. I've noticed a lot of times it keeps it 1 or 2 degrees cooler than the temperature of the lake. So you don't have to really worry about it warming up, but the fact that we're putting the ice in there just gives the water in the live well more capacity to hold oxygen, which keeps our bass alive. Question that I hear oftentimes about ice is worrying about the chlorine content in ice. There's not enough chlorine in ice for you to worry about it having chlorine poisoning on your bass. Just get the ice in there to cool the water. Any levels of chlorine in the water is pale in comparison to, what do the people say? You don't want to throw out the baby with the bath water. Is there some chlorine in ice? I'm sure there is, but there's not enough in the ice. There's nothing to worry about on the bag that will contaminate these fish. These bass are coming out of that water right there. It's full of bacteria, minerals. Like, you wouldn't drink that water. Them suckers are living in that water. So if they can live in water that looks like that, greenish, olive, orange, I guess that's not orange. But if you think about the environment that a bass lives in, he can live in that filtered ice water that you're putting in your live wells. Trust me, if you can drink it and put it in your drink, he can waller around in it in that little box back there. So don't think about ice as contaminating the environment of your bass. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is cleaning your live wells. So let me show you my live wells right now. They're actually a little bit dirty, and I'm gonna talk to you about why that doesn't matter that much, and what really matters when it comes to cleaning live wells. So can you see? Let's see how well you can see. I got there's some stuff in there. A lot of that comes from throwing your boat in reverse, aerator sucking up dust, silt, mud. I guess it's not dust if it's in the water, but you can see on a Falcon I actually have a plug in here that I can pull. I can pull this plug, and now my live wells will actually drain, and so I can drain like dead bait fish or the sediment. Grass is the one that you want to watch. Duckweed in particular, you want to make sure you keep that out of there. But when it comes to cleaning live wells, a couple things. I'm gonna keep this real simple. There's never ever a need for you to add any kind of solvents, cleaners, soaps, chlorines, or anything to your live well to clean it. Say that again. There's really no reason for you to clean your live wells with any kind of soaps, solvents, chlorine, any kind of cleaning products. Unless you've had, I don't know, a bass die in there and stay for a week or so, you probably need to think about that. But the condition that my live well is in, all of that sediment in there is honestly okay. Don't worry about it. You can take a vacuum cleaner if you want to and get that out of there, but there's nothing in here that's going to harm bass. The culprit with cleaning your live wells is making sure you don't have too much sediment or grass or rocks that can get into your pumps. That's why you would lose a bass in your live well, is because you had too much sediment, too much dirt in your live wells that caused your pumps not to work. So therefore you kill bass. This dirt will not kill the fish. None of this will hurt anything. It won't hurt the bass at all. A dead bait fishing here will not hurt the bass. It won't do anything. As I mentioned before, keep in mind these bass are living in they're living in this. Look at what they're living in. Like, I don't really even want to swim in that. Look at all the stuff in there. Look at the mud on the bottom of the lake. You ever walked around? Look at all that silt that you walk around on the bottom of the lake. That little bit of dirt is the cleanest thing that bass has ever been around. You don't clean your live wells to offer a sterile environment for the bass. They're plenty capable, because you're pumping water from the lake into the boat. They're plenty capable of living in that environment. The reason you clean your live wells is to make sure that your pumps work correctly. So if you want to do anything at all, once you get home and you drain your live wells, the best thing you could do is take a vacuum cleaner and clean that silt out so that your pumps are not sucking in silt or grass. Now you can see I have some, let me show you one more thing in my boat. You see I have those screens. Most of you guys are gonna have that. You can see I have these little metal screens. I'll try to take one off if I can. I got these metal screens on my pumps. And these metal screens are designed to keep sediment and grass and rocks out of my aerator pumps. It's so important to keep these clean because if this gets clogged, your aerators can't intake water. If they can't intake water, they can't pump out water, which slows down the aeration process. That's what kills your fish. If these screens ever get clogged to the point to where your aerators can't take in water, it will cause your pumps to fail or work improperly, and it will kill your fish. That's why fish die in live wells, because we don't monitor them properly. I feel pretty confident that if you follow those 6 steps that I mentioned there about live welling bass, you're probably going to have a pretty good experience with keeping bass alive in your live wells. These things are plenty capable of holding bass for anywhere from 8 to 10 hours. People do it all the time, don't have any issues. So keep your live wells clean. You don't need soap, solvents, chlorine, or anything else to clean your live wells. When you clean your live wells, it's about getting the dirt out so that your pumps don't take it in and work improperly or fail. That's why you kill bass. Try that. Use those 6 steps that I talk about. Do it in that order. The order is very important. I feel real confident you will never, I shouldn't say never, you'll almost never have a bass die in your live well.